Welcome back to Holy Ground Hot Takes, where three travelers on the journey come alongside you to help break open the scriptures for the upcoming Sunday's readings. Join us here each week as we talk about the scriptures, our lives and ministry, and whatever else we think about. Thanks for joining us, and let's get into this week's Holy Ground Hot Takes Easter edition.
Hey everyone, we are back. I think popular request. We heard that some people actually enjoyed our Lenten video series. So we will be extending our Holy Ground Hot Takes into the Easter season. So welcome to Holy Ground Hot Takes Easter edition with Karen, Ann, and Vicki. And happy Easter, you guys.
Yay, we made it.
We made it through the desert. Full disclosure, we are recording this on March the 31st. And can we just say that March feels like it has been like 103 days long, not 31 days long this year?
Yep. 8 years ago today was Easter.
What?
8 years ago today, we were celebrating Easter. Yeah. It popped up on my Facebook feed.
Oh, an early Easter. I get it. Okay. So yeah. But so we're time traveling a little bit ahead into the Easter season, and I am very excited about this. So ladies, let's get your take on our Easter morning scripture passage. We have Mary Magdalene in the tomb. What do you guys want to share about the readings this week?
All right. So I particularly don't like the John version. I'm just going to put that out there.
You have some feelings about this, Karen?
Yeah, well, I love the fact that in the Gospels, Mary is the first one there. But in John, she doesn't like have that priority of being the first one. It's given to Peter. And I'm just like, come on, you really let's just prop up the women, because they were there right from the very beginning. But with that said, the whole idea of seeing is believing, but then you also have believing and understanding, which are two totally different things. And we believe a lot of things that we don't see, like the consecration. We don't see the Holy Spirit come down and transform the host into the body and blood of Christ, but we still believe that that's what's happening. But yet, going back, sometimes we fully don't understand it, or sometimes we think we understand it, and then something happens, we're like, wait, no, I'm not sure. So I love the whole idea of the mystery of it, of this gospel, that there's just so much going on, and it's like they still don't understand. So it's very personal, because there's a lot of stuff that I still don't understand or grasp, or, that challenge me. So yeah, I think that's where I was going in terms of the readings for Easter. Just the idea that Jesus wasn't there. They took his body, but
right, because we think of Easter as being like, oh, all the alleluias, and like this year it's going to be great because we're going to be singing again, and like lots of music at Mass, and but for the people who experienced it, like they didn't have 2,000 years of context being like, oh, we can be we can rejoice now.
Right.
Like, where did he go?
I always call the Easter gospel the ultimate cliffhanger. Right? Like we have been on this 40-day journey to get to this beautiful moment. We have gone through Holy Week. We have suffered. We have done it all. And then it's kind of like, but I think that's almost the best part, right? Because it's not over. And I kind of love that part. Like you get this cliffhanger of like, oh wait, but there's more, and there's like more good news, and there's more things to come. But yeah, I think also, I always love the fact that why was Mary there, right? Like Mary was there to do this job, right? To take care of the body. And she gets this awesome news that she then gets to share, even though in John's, right, we don't hear that part of it. We don't hear the interaction with the gardener and everything, but then for like the other men to come and be like, wait, what? And then all be in the state where Mary has it, right? Like if you just listen to her a little bit more, she's going to tell you what's going on. But they, you know, were just running in. But how often do we run in, right? And think like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And not take the time to listen to the full message.
Yeah, let's hold Mary Magdalene up for a minute as being, you know, all four gospels tell us she was the first witness to the resurrection, and that's why they call her the apostle to the apostles. And yeah, so it's actually, because I read, when I read the reading the first time, I was reading it in the lectionary book, and you don't get any of that stuff about her with the gardener and stuff, but actually that's in John. It's just the second half of that chapter. We're just not reading it at Mass this year. But so yeah, but it is like in John, they go to the tomb, but she doesn't go in. Right. And it's like Peter and the beloved disciple who run past her and actually go into the tomb.
Yeah.
And they see that it's empty and they see the burial cloths, but then they run away again, but she stays alone at the tomb. And that's when she has the interaction with Jesus, who she doesn't know.
Do you find it weird that like the other disciple waited for Peter to get there?
Yeah.
It's like, if that was me, I would have been like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, I'm just going to wait, see what's going on. Like,
you know, this is going to sound bad. It's like, you know, like in the horror movies where like they're at the top of the basement stairs and like, you go first. No, you go first. Or maybe
you wonder why they're in the basement and not like outside.
Yeah. Well, do you notice that whenever we have like angels or like the risen Christ, and you know, and we'll hear lots of these stories as we move through the Easter season, but the first thing that Jesus says or the angel says is like, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And that's probably because it's scary to encounter the unknown in that way.
Yeah.
Or something just outside of our experience. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. That's crazy.
But I know you gotta love in John though, like they're like, you know, Peter and the disciple Jesus loved were running to the tomb, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter. And, you know, because it's like you hear like, is the disciple who Jesus loved John? Like, is he talking about himself and be like, I'm faster than you, Peter, right? But I don't know, maybe it was just a sign that, you know, he wanted to wait for Peter to enter first so they could go together. Maybe it was an acknowledgement of Peter's leadership of the group.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Really know.
Because Jesus had already given Peter that praise, right? About being the leader of them. And, you know, how we always like, okay, my mom or dad or, you know, my sister should go first because she's older. So but I did pick that up. I was like, oh, that's weird. Because if that was me, I think everything would have just been, I would have been selfish to like say it for myself first. So the idea of patience and that we are still in this waiting period, but
yeah. And so today's gospel, you know, Easter Sunday is kind of just the beginning of the story, right? So we're still at the empty tomb, and over the next 7 weeks, we're gonna hear all the stories of how Jesus appeared to his followers, you know, after the resurrection, and then how they, you know, and then the first reading, we're reading Acts this whole season, passages from the book of Acts, and we see these men who were you know, like so confused and got so many things wrong when they were following Jesus, even if they were enthusiastic about it. Like they just like pull themselves together and like grow into these leaders who can, you know, spread the good news and build the church from nothing into, you know, what it becomes over the ages, which is amazing. Did you guys want to mention anything about, we didn't really talk about the first or second readings yet, but thoughts on those?
So you know, like it's funny because like this idea that Peter, right, like, I don't know, like, you know, like I always joke that Peter's the guy who never gets it right. Like even at the tomb, he couldn't run fast enough to get there first. And yeah, in the first reading, here he is like summarizing everything and like to these people and being like, look at all this amazing, like it's like he finally got it. Like the light bulb went off in Peter's head and he's like, this is the amazement. This is why I need to summarize and share with you because this is incredible and you need to hear it.
Yeah, well, that speech is kind of like, I think of it as like the elevator pitch for the good news.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Jesus, you know. And like,
well, wait, there's more.
Yeah. But the courage it took to stand up and do that was something we haven't, you know, seen them have before. So
right.
That's part of the Easter story too, is how how the resurrection changes us as followers of Jesus. Yeah.
I loved the second reading with the baking analogy, and especially, I mean, Easter, we talk about Easter bread and all this good stuff. And with that whole couple of sentences, really, because it's not very long, if there's no feast without bread, right? I mean, there's bread and everything, but the analogy of there's no spiritual life for us without Jesus. So Jesus is our leaven, and we need that to continue our journey. But just like Peter, we may not get it some days, and we may really get it other days and then be confused again. So I love that we don't want to stay stale or flat, because that's not fun. So the idea that we continuously need to challenge ourselves to grow in our faith and ask those hard questions and prepare ourselves for Mass and be present. I really enjoyed. And since we are doing this before Easter, we don't know if that's the second reading.
Right, there's choices between two readings, and the three of us all liked the same one, so that's the one we're going to talk about, but you might hear something completely different when you
full disclosure. Unfortunately, we can't choose that, but we chose it to talk about. So if it is the other reading, go back and read the one about the leavened bread, because that analogy is just perfect.
Yeah, it only takes a little leaven to rise the whole loaf, right? So
exactly,
let's let a little Easter joy rise, our whole spirits and our attitudes and our outlook on life this week. And I think that'll do it for today.
Yeah.
And we'll see you back next week.
Hallelujah.
Happy Easter, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for our hot takes on these readings. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment below this video and tell us your thoughts on this Sunday's readings. As always, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you know every time we post a new hot takes. And as always, until we meet again on this journey, have a wonderful week and many blessings.